Think about the last space that truly made you exhale, not just relax, but feel safe, grounded, and more yourself. What if our homes, workplaces, hotels, even public spaces were designed not to stimulate us more, but to gently regulate our nervous systems and bring us back into balance? Welcome to Healing Horizons, the space where we explore new possibilities for healing, well being, and human potential. I am Yusuf, and today I'm joined by Hayley Hunter Hines, a globally recognized wellness futurist and experience architect, and the founder of Soul Sparkle Living. Haley helps visionary brands and leaders design emotionally intelligent environments that restore vitality and reconnect us to beauty, presence, and belonging. In this episode, we are exploring how healing spaces shape our nervous system and what the future of well being environment truly looks like. With that, I welcome Healy to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Haley, before we get into the frameworks and designs, I am curious, was there a personal moment or environment in your own life where you felt the power of space to truly support your nervous system and sense of wholeness?
Well, I think there was a moment when I realized how important it actually is to curate a healthy environment, especially if you are what I would say energetically sensitive. Um, I think it was the contrast of what felt very unsupportive, which inspired me, I think, to dive into this kind of realm of how do we create environments that truly help support the well-being of all people, not just, those that are not impacted by energy or sensory inputs, but the fact that most of us are really impacted by the environment that we're in. And so for me, it was the contrast of a not supportive environment that inspired me to go into this kind of new way of design.
Yeah, that's cool. And when people hear about healing spaces, they often think of something purely aesthetic or luxurious. From your perspective, what's the biggest misconception about what actually makes a space healing?
I mean, I think if you're looking at your own space, like for example, most people have control over their own environment on some level. And so if you think about it from that perspective, you can look at even just starting with the lighting, right? Is it warm? Is it soft? Is it versus fluorescent and, so bright that it's disturbing? What is the sound quality? How much natural light are you getting? So it's really kind of looking at your own very personal environment and how that impacts you and how you feel when you are in that space versus when you go out to other places, and how can you modify and manage your own personal um, living space or work environment, and then how can you also potentially modify your environment when you're out in the wild, as I like to say.
Okay. And what tends to happen when beauty is prioritized without considering how the nervous system actually responds to an environment?
Well, I think we're all impacted by beauty, right? I think that's why the research that they've done in, public school systems, for example, when they've put in art installations or internal gardens or there's plants, like we are more affected by beauty and nature than we realize. And so I think anytime you can include those elements into your own either again, your own personal living situation or your work environment or wherever it is that you're spending the majority of your time, you're impacted by those elements, whether you realize it or not. And so I think that's where, if we take a higher level of awareness into design, into workspaces, into hospitality spaces, etc., people are going to be impacted whether they realize it or not.
Yeah. What I could understand is that it is not about visual perfection. It's about how the body feels moment to moment inside the space and whether it signals safety or stress.
Exactly.
Okay. Why are so many modern environments unintentionally dysregulating our nervous system?
Well, okay, so let me use an example of, say, a fast food restaurant. So there's psychology around certain colors, lighting, sound that will impact a user or a customer or a guest based on the outcome that that restaurant or business wants to create. So if you look at low end fast food dining, for example, you can look at, say, McDonald's. The colors that they choose, the lighting that they choose, the aesthetic is a very rough and not um, welcoming environment for a nervous system. Okay, so it's bright, it's loud. People want to get in and get out, get in, get out, which is that's their business model. Versus if you go to the other spectrum, like as a high end dining establishment, they want soft lighting, they want lower um, sound, they want a calm environment. The colors are more conducive and calm. And they even have done research that shows every degree of the lighting is dim. If it's dimmed, people will buy more, they'll drink more, they'll stay longer. So you see, there's a whole different spectrum of fast food, get in, get out, get on with it, versus the higher ticket, more luxury dining experience. They want people to be there. So they want them to feel comfortable. They want them to feel calm. They want them to feel relaxed because then they'll order another drink or they'll order more on their tab and end up spending more time, more money in that environment. So if you take those concepts and bring them throughout other areas of your life, whether it be your home and your work, etc., you want your environment to feel calm and soothing and you want to be comfortable there. You reduce the lighting, you calm the energy in the space. You provide a place where it's not loud and crazy or whatever, and that encourages you to be there and feel really good in your own environment. So, if we address that kind of concept throughout everywhere in design, it just makes sense that you would want it to be um, sensory um, available for those that are in the space, no matter where they are.
Yeah. From a neuroscience or somatic perspective, what elements tend to overwhelm us without us even realizing it?
Overwhelm. Okay, so like I just mentioned, lighting, sound, um, the overall aesthetic, the colors can be very disturbing. So when you think about colors, like for example, again, I keep using McDonald's, but like yellow and red are very disturbing to the spirit versus maybe more like blues and grays or greens. Those are much more calming. So more muted tones, more neutral tones are much more calming versus bright lighting and bright colors. So I would say lighting, color, sound, and then also the absorbing of the sound. So are there rugs, are there carpets that anchor in the sound, or does it reflect and repel off the walls? Like things like that. And then also, obviously, then you can get into art and there's the greenery, the plants, the nature. Are you bringing that into the environment? So those are some of the things that are impacting us sensory wise.
Mm. And how does this show up in everyday life for people? maybe at work, airports, homes, or even wellness spaces.
So, I mean, at home, it's again like fluorescent lighting. It's maybe people have the TV on all the time. It's very disturbing. Loud noises, loud music. At work, it could be being in open environments that are not conducive to all employees potentially, especially if they're neurodivergent. It can be very distracting. Lighting in the workplace can be a huge issue. Um, going out to public places, whether it be restaurants, malls, most of those are very, very, again, loud and lighting not
Yeah.
warm at all. So I think we're constantly in situations where we need to be aware of that. And then you're able to modify maybe your own environment, not all environments, but do the things that you know to do in your own space so that when you come home, it feels peaceful, it feels calm, it feels like a sanctuary. That's
Yeah.
really what what most of us are trying to accomplish overall anyway.
Tell us about your sparkle framework.
So the history of like well-being in corporate wellness is around the initial model was the biomedical model. So we focused a lot on physical activity and nutrition, and with the outcomes and the metrics of the blood pressure, the body fat, the glucose levels, those types of things. Very, very driven in the physical realm. Then it turned into, well, what are the things that are driving those metrics? So stress management, anxiety, depression, more of the psychological risk factors are normally the things that are driving those biomedical risks, right? So
Yeah.
what people are doing, they're eating because they're stressed, they're depressed, or whatever it is, they're drinking more, like those types of things. The correlation was so strong there. Then there was research that came out that said there's a massive correlation between social isolation and morbidity. So they have a higher risk of morbidity from being socially isolated than smoking. It was worse for you to be alone than to smoke. Okay. So this was kind of the trajectory. And then um, the correlation again of those individuals that had a spiritual connection had a higher likelihood of being healthy and well and happy versus those that did not. And so that's kind of then the arc line of the well-being industry over time. And then what I realize is that there's a whole nother way of overlaying all of this, and that is with this philosophy that there are miracles available. There's magic if you believe in it. There are the experience of beauty and awe and wonder and whimsy, and almost like seeing life through the eyes of a child again, right? And when we overlay that on top of all of this other research, our ability to experience a beautiful and extraordinary life, it it's a matter of perspective and a matter of looking for the magic in the mundane. And I think that's to me what the sparkle framework actually is.
Wow. Absolutely beautiful. For someone who is listening right now, what are the few practical shifts they can make in their own home or workspace to support their nervous system regulation?
So I would start at home and I would say change out any bright fluorescent lights, create warmth, and maybe it's lamps, maybe it's, I travel full time and I always carry a strand of twinkle lights just because it makes everything fabulous. Buy candles. Maybe it's warmer, cozy blankets, depending on where you are, like creating a sanctuary of calm and peace at home. And then in your workplace, depending on if you're out and about in the wild, um, again, it's managing the things that you can. Maybe it's wearing earplugs, right? So I carry earplugs with me everywhere I go because I know that if I'm on anyone else's environment, I wanna be able to manage myself. So creating the opportunity for you to reduce noise and sound that is disturbing is gonna be good. And then, outside of that, I think it's managing any input. So your time on social media, your time on any kind of media, disconnect, digital disconnection as much as possible. Stop consuming as much as you can, go within. That's a great place to start.
Even when people create supportive environments, life still brings stress and disruption. How do healing spaces help us recover more quickly rather than eliminating stress entirely?
Well, I think it's preparing your body and your nervous system to handle whatever comes. So that's why we practice. That's why we stay consistent in the day to day routine of whether it be mindful movement, meditation, uh, any type of practice that's going to bring you back into your body, whether it be out walking your water or nature or being outside in any way to the nourishment that we give to our bodies, eliminating chemical stress, eliminating any, anything that's going to contribute to a change in your state that's not in a good way, right? So eliminating processed food, anything that's going to be chemically um, contributing to your body, we don't need. So going back to the basics is a really, really great way to handle and manage whatever shows up in your life, right? And staying grounded, staying calm, staying present, sleeping well. If you do nothing else than change the sleep habits that you have in 2026, you will be winning at life. And like that is such a huge foundation. If you're just sleeping really, really well, you'll be able to handle so much more of whatever comes your way, right? So that to me would be a great foundational beginning is sleep, manage your environment, and manage what you consume. Those are the three things.
Perfect. Haley, for listeners who want to explore your work, your frameworks, or the healing spaces you are creating around the world, where can they find and connect with you?
So the best way is to find me on my website, my little internet home, and that's at soulsparkleliving.com. And then also through any social media channels, they can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, etc. And usually it's my whole name. So Hayley Hunter Hines, my full name. So those are probably the best ways to stay in touch with me.
Perfect. And to all our listeners, all these links are in the show notes, so just go and check those out. Haley, is there any last message that you want to leave us with?
I would say that uh, keep it simple, right? Keep things simple. Let it be easy. Don't overthink it. You don't have to have some 27-step morning routine to be healthy and well. Just simple and add a little bits over time and be consistent. That's the main thing. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us on Healing Horizons, Haley.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My pleasure.
And to all our listeners, if today's conversation sparked reflection, notice one space you move through today and how your body responds to it. Healing often begins with awareness. And it is not just something we do, it is something we live inside of and the spaces around us that quietly shape how safe, connected, and alive we feel. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep exploring what is possible for your well being.